How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame. We're back. Game Week 30 plus preview. That is what they're calling it now. So happy to be back. Fantasy Premier League is in just 2 days, hour and a half before the deadline your team must be in. So we're gonna go through all the different things in the part one of what happened previously. So we're gonna do a little bit of a catch up. We're gonna go through our predictions, our must-have picks for the week. And then we're going to kind of look at what I've been thinking about for my team. And then tomorrow, when we go to do the stream tomorrow at, I think I said it was 1 p.m. EST, tomorrow afternoon, we'll take a look at what I've actually done with my team. So that by then we'll have all of the manager press conferences, hopefully, if they still are doing those. I think they said they were going to be doing them over Zoom or something, or maybe like on the pitch or something. I'm not too sure, but hopefully we'll have more information by then. But yeah, let's get right into it. So we got a new layout going here. The chat will appear just below where it says the transfers this week to this side, be to my right. So yeah, we got that all set up. We got the different metrics up on the side. So we got our game week points, game week rank, overall points, overall rank, transfers used, and transfers for this week. I put over 9,000 because it's just a funny reference. Because you have unlimited this week. So this was my team from game week 29. So we're not going to go over the scores from that game week. It was so long ago, it doesn't really matter. It just matters on who I had in my team, who did well, who was basically hitting form at that point. We're still going to do the predictions for this week and going forward, but we're just going to check out what my team did. So this was the team that I had. I originally had Kevin De Bruyne in the lineup. Obviously, he came out because he didn't play, and Lundstrom came in and got us 12 points, which was fantastic. So what was our team structure looking like? Well, we could basically play 3 strikers, depending on if Calvert-Lewin had a good fixture or not. And then depending on whether we wanted to play more defenders that week, we had the ability to play like Trent Alexander-Arnold, Soyuncu, Willy Bolly, Lundstrom, and Sidibe was starting to fall out of favor, so he was kind of becoming a bit of a problem. We missed out on McCarthy's 12 points on the bench, which kind of sucks, but hey, is what it is. So let's actually run through player by player. So Dean Henderson got us 7 points, it's quite good. Trent only got us 2, unfortunately, didn't keep a clean sheet. Willy Bolly did, helped us out there. So did Soyuncu, and obviously Lundstrom was very good. Mane and Salah did very well for themselves. Barnes was an absolute legend. Traore was starting to become more and more disappointing. And Danny Ings and Jimenez obviously blanked. De Bruyne, like I said, we got subbed off. Calvert-Lewin didn't do anything, and Sidibe didn't play or he didn't get any points. Let's see. No, they just lost 4-0 to Chelsea, right? That's what it was. So this was my team. So basically, leaving this week, basically the things that I was thinking back then was, do I keep Traore? He seems to me a problem? Are we going to swap him out potentially for maybe another Wolves defender, or we swap in Jota? It was a bunch of different things I was thinking, as well as Sidibe. We potentially could get him out. I was also looking at Leicester. Leicester's fixtures were starting to turn a bit. Watford was starting to pick up their form, so that could be a tough fixture. Brighton is never easy to score against. And Leicester was having some inconsistencies. So they were, Norwich away, they lost 1-0. Obviously, they played against Man City, didn't do too well there. Wolves away, didn't manage to score. Chelsea at home only could get a draw. And then obviously they beat Aston Villa because everyone beats Aston Villa. But it was a bit tricky because Barnes was valued, but I'm not sure the defenders were. I was also thinking maybe potentially it might be time to cash out on Calvert-Lewin because yes, Norwich away in 31. These are the same fixtures as what they were right now. Norwich away would have been a good fixture. Leicester at home could be good. Tottenham away, not so great. Southampton home, maybe. Wolves away is tough. Aston Villa and Bournemouth are probably good, but it's kind of up and down, up and down, up and down. Is he good for his price? Obviously, but for over the next 4 fixtures, I think maybe 1 he gets a return. Is that good? Potentially, but there could also have been better uses elsewhere. for other different assets that may have had better string of fixtures. So if we look at where are the fixtures, so these would have been the fixtures ignoring these two. Obviously, we could potentially have looked at maybe Troy Deeney would have been an option. I believe he was just coming back. We could have potentially looked at Arsenal, because Arsenal's fixtures for the rest of the season are quite decent. There's a bunch of different options there. And we could have just got the value on Calvert-Lewin and just gotten out of there, because we see that, Everton, they play well against teams that they should beat, like Crystal Palace and Watford and Newcastle. They still score goals, but they lost 4-0 to Chelsea. Yes, it was away from home, but Chelsea's had their inconsistencies with teams around the middle of the table as well. So Everton was kind of falling into that category. So, hey Rich, how's it going? Need to make up some serious points? Yeah, don't worry, I can help you out. Yeah, we could definitely look at those. So we'll actually go right into that. I was just finishing up here. So I always bring my little notepad over here. So these are the different games here. So this is what we're gonna be looking at. I'm from Canada. That's it. I'm from Canada. Yeah. So first game of the week, obviously Aston Villa, Sheffield United. Now I'm gonna tell you what I think, and what I hope the game should go as, because in terms of fantasy, but what I think will be more realistic. So Aston Villa, Sheffield United. Aston Villa is basically the only scorer pretty much through Jack Grealish. Sheffield United has been scoring as of late. They've been scoring a lot in the pre-season-ish type of games that we've been hearing about, and they've been doing quite well with that. They do create a lot of chances, just a matter of who can put them away. Yes, Canada definitely does. I've always followed football or soccer, whatever you want to call it. I have relatives that come from England, so, or have English background, as it were. Gotten half played. Yeah, no. The league table is a bit different. Well, I mean, it's going to change, but we'll see. We'll definitely see. But yeah, for this first game, Aston Villa or Sheffield United, I think it's going to be a draw, but I also think the most realistic result is going to be a draw now as well. You can give me the name and we'll check it out. Rich. Aston Villa and Sheffield United, I think it's going to be a draw of some kind. Probably a 1-1 or a 0-0. I think that Sheffield United be most likely to score first, and it's just whether Aston Villa can score. So I think 1-1 is probably going to be a fair result. It's not the result I'm looking for. I would rather Sheffield United win 1-0, honestly. Reminiscence. Yeah, we'll take a look at it. I'll let you know. Yeah, I think Aston Villa. I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. I think the other likely outcome is Sheffield United 1-0 win, but I still think Aston Villa will have chances. It's just a matter of if they put them away. Man City, Arsenal. I think this is very, very easy. I think 3-1 is a very comfortable scoreline. City will play this like a training ground game, which they do very well in those environments. I think the defense isn't good enough to keep a clean sheet, though. I still think Arsenal will score. They'll find a way. But I think City overall will just dominate the game. Norwich versus Southampton. Now, Southampton on paper should win this one quite easily. Norwich haven't been great, but the time off may have allowed them to basically reset and get their shape back in order. I still think Southampton win this game. I still think Norwich could potentially score in this one. I think 2-1 is probably a fair result for this game. Spurs versus Manchester United. I think that this is being a bit biased here because I am a Man United fan. I think Man United should be able to win this game quite easily. However, Spurs, this is a different this is a different situation here, because this game would have been played initially without any Harry Kane, without Heung-min Son, but now they're back in the team, and apparently Pogba's going to start on the bench. But I still think United should have enough to beat them. I think United's defense is quite good, but I don't think it's good enough to keep Tottenham out completely. I think a fair result would be a 2-1, and I could see it being a 2-1 either side, because both teams are good enough to basically score effectively. It's just a matter of who scores that one extra. I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, unfortunately, we can't all like each other in some ways. If I had to guess, you're probably a Liverpool or Arsenal fan. If I had to guess, maybe. We'll see. I like any teams that play good, but I like Manchester United because that's the team I follow. And if I were to get like jerseys and stuff like that, I obviously prioritize them because that's the team that my dad likes, my brother likes, and that's kind of how our family's gone. Liverpool, yeah, figured as much. Hey, well, you got respect where respect's due. You're doing good. You're gonna win the league anyway. So it's just a matter of when and how, not if. So Watford versus Leicester. Now this could be interesting because Leicester was having a slight downturn in form. I think that Watford could give them a bit of trouble in this game. From what we've seen in the Bundesliga, home field doesn't actually matter too much. It was around a 40% win rate for a home team versus a 30% loss rate, and I think it was like 20% for draws, something around that. Whereas now it's completely on its head. It's 40% for the away team for a win, and it was like 20% for a win for the home team. So it could be a bit tricky here. With Watford versus Leicester. I still think that Leicester can pull this one out. I still think that they can win this game. I don't think both teams will keep a clean sheet, though. I think another 2-1 win either side. It's going to be a close matchup, a very close matchup. Then we got Brighton versus Arsenal. Arsenal should win this. They are away, so that does kind of take things down. But without the pressure of the atmosphere and the fans, they may play a little bit better. Obviously, the preseason hasn't shown to be quite good, but I think just Aubameyang's just raw talent is just probably what's going to carry them here. I think they're going to win this game. I think they're going to bounce back from losing to City, and I think they're going to flip the scoreline and do a 3-1 victory here. Wolves versus West Ham. I think this game is going to go one way and one way only. I think it's going to be a Wolves win. I think Wolves score somewhat early on, maybe 20, 25, 30 minutes, somewhere in that realm. They hang on. West Ham then have to push more players forward, and then Wolves end up beating them how they normally do, which is they get one on the counterattack and then the game's over. So I think that's going to be how it goes there. Bournemouth versus Crystal Palace. I think that this could go either way. Crystal Palace weren't necessarily in the best of form. Bournemouth was starting to pick it back up a little bit. I don't think either team is going to get what they want. I think a 1-1 draw is fair. It's very hard to predict teams that are like somewhat close, or teams that were going up in form versus teams that were going down in form. You know, it's a bit tricky, especially when it's just blind like this. You know, so we're gonna have to see how that goes. Newcastle versus Sheffield United. Again, another one. I think Aston Villa could be a 1-1 like that. I think that they'll be a bit more defensive on both sides. I think both teams will probably be happy with a draw, I think. Sheffield United probably wants more of a win, but Sheffield United is obviously in a much better situation than they thought they would be in. I think a 0-0 could potentially happen. I think also a 1-1, but some type of draw in this game again is probably favored, and maybe a slight edge to Sheffield United. Maybe in their favor, because Newcastle have shown that they haven't been able to score many goals without like some type of crazy set piece play, or St. Maximin actually being on top form and somebody actually being there to help with him. Aston Villa versus Chelsea. I think that Aston Villa again will score, but I don't think they'll win the game because Chelsea should just be too much for them. Yeah, no fans in the stadium is gonna help out. Is gonna help some teams out. It's also gonna basically not help out other teams. But what they're actually doing is putting in it could help the teams fighting relegation. You are right. But what they're doing is they're actually going to put ambient noise So from what I've seen, like in the Bundesliga games, like for the Munich teams, Bayern Munich, and Leverkusen, um, they or the Bayern teams rather, they basically put the fan noise. So basically, if like a shot happens in favor of the home team, it's like a really loud, like crowd noise, as if they were there. So it's gonna mimic somewhat. It's not gonna be the same. They're gonna put it over the speakers in the stadium and stuff like that. But it's not exactly the same. But it's still gonna be present, in a sense. Obviously there are gonna be some things that are a bit weird and whatnot. But they're trying to make it as normal as possible. So, but I do think it will affect a lot of teams that are typically louder than the speaker in tones. One place being Anfield, as an example. Anfield is known to be very atmospheric, very loud, very, I wouldn't say distracting, but almost overwhelming for the opponent. I'm trying to think of another stadium that's probably somewhat similar. In other regions, in La Liga, Atletico Madrid Stadium is typically very loud and very like obnoxious, basically for the away team. They just can't even hear themselves think. Speaking of moving on, we're moving on to the Merseyside derby, Everton versus Liverpool. I think especially if Man City were to somehow lose against Arsenal, which I don't think will happen, but this could be potentially one of the most crucial games of Liverpool's whole season. Because not only could they win the league in just one game played from coming back, but they could also win the league in their next door neighbor's backyard, which would just be that it's just over. Yeah. Yeah, Champions League nights is obviously, it's a bit crazy as well. Yeah, that's true. You get a little bit more of a different atmosphere. It's more of the European atmosphere. Like if you've seen games in Italy and Germany and then other Central European countries, really a lot of noise comes out. But Everton versus Liverpool, I think Liverpool wins this game. I still think Everton, they always seem to make a graft out of it. I think Liverpool will be too much here. I'm just going to go with a conservative win for Liverpool, 2-1. I think they just want to get the job done. And if they try to go there too overconfident, especially if Arsenal wins against Man City, they just got to play their own game, and then they should be perfectly fine. And then Man City versus Burnley, I don't think Man City will concede in this one. I just think that Burnley just aren't very good. They started to pick it up a little bit, but not great. I think I think Man City scores at least 2. But it could be bad. It depends on how early that they score. But Man City, they have a lot of attacking assets, but it's going to be played like a training ground at their stadium, which has been criticized for its atmosphere and stuff like that. So it may not affect them as much. I don't know. But I think in a trading scenario, I think Man City will probably play the best because that's how they take training obviously super seriously, and they kind of play in that style. So I'm just going to go with Man City going for a 2-0 here. Now, in terms of our must-have players for clean sheets, defender, midfielder, and forward, and goalkeeper, I think our clean sheet is going to be Sheffield United. Oh, got to bring this across a little bit more. There we go. So we can see everything. Put it over the fixtures there. There we are. Thank you for following Rich as well. Appreciate it. Much appreciated. Yeah, so the clean sheets. I think the Sheffield United is probably going to get one clean sheet out of this. I don't see any world where they don't get one clean sheet. They could get a clean sheet in both games because Aston Villa aren't very good. Newcastle, in terms of scoring, aren't very good. And obviously their goalkeeper, Dean Henderson, has been a big part of that. I still have Dean Henderson in my team currently. I have a lot of value tied up in him, so I think he could be quite good. And then obviously, you can't doubt the Lord Lundstrom. He's been obviously a very good player throughout the whole season. He's been out, he's been mispositioned the whole season. playing in midfield when he's actually registered as a defender. If you've had him for the whole season like I have, you have significant value in him. And I think you just basically any Sheffield United defender is probably worth a mention here. Stevens, Baldick, Egan, and O'Connell was the other one that I was thinking. Those guys are going to play, and you're going to get value out of them because they're probably going to get at least one clean sheet. 4-0, 5-0. It depends. I think it depends on how Arsenal plays. If Arsenal comes up very serious, they could do okay. But again, these practice games are nothing to kind of go by because teams are kind of experimenting and kind of just trying to get everyone back to full fitness, and then they pick their team. But I think the majority of it comes from what the manager sees in like their actual training, because that's where they probably have practiced more on their actual what their plan's going to be. Could be quite different. So, like as an example, I'm using United as an example. They played West Brom the other day. They had basically all their good attacking midfielders and forwards on the field versus West Brom. They lost 2-1, and then they had all their defenders and like defensive-minded players and their goalkeeper on, and they won 3-1 in that game. So it just kind of depends on how the team plays as a whole. And Arsenal has always been like a synergy-based team. When they're on form, it's quite good. When they're not on form, it looks very bad. The same as City's another one, but City's obviously is a level above Arsenal in that aspect, which is why stylistically City has always been a better team than Arsenal when they go head to head, because basically both teams want to play that kind of controlled possession based football and basically find spaces and then 1-2-3 passes and then it's like through the lines and then off you go with just a quick burst of pace, and then that's how basically they get their goals. But obviously, since both teams play like that, City will basically know how to counter because they know their own weaknesses, and it's just a matter of the team with better players, basically on just a stat level, like in terms of like physique, speed, balance, strength, natural ability is going to be a slight higher level for City, in my opinion. And their bench obviously can be a team in itself. So, yeah. But I don't think Arsenal's at a 0% chance. I don't think it's going to be an absolute massacre because remember, a lot of teams are going to come out and the football is not going to be great. It's going to be going to result to be a little bit more scrappy, which I think doesn't favor City as much. But I think their overall level would just be better. So we'll have to wait and see. Next, we obviously have Kevin De Bruyne. He basically plays every game for Man City. He's the best player in the league, in my opinion. He's not going anywhere from my team, and I think if you don't have him in your fantasy team, I think that's a big mistake. I think he's the one midfielder. Like if you're gonna nail down somebody who's gonna play probably both games for Man City, at least 60 minutes in both games, if not more, and it's gonna be basically a crucial part on how City win. It's Kevin De Bruyne. The team looks different without him, so they're gonna have to play him. And then last but not least, I think Aguero. Obviously, Aguero should still be on penalties, either him or De Bruyne. I think these two are probably must-haves in your team. I think you should be looking at basically getting a couple Sheffield United defenders and these two, and then structure your team around that based on how much value you have left to go for the likes of Aubameyang or Grealish and that sort of stuff for the double game week players. And I just think Aguero is it's just good. Yeah, he's missed a couple of penalties and whatnot over recent times, but hey, not everyone scores a penalty. It is one of the easier things apparently to do in the game, but we'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see. So yeah, that's gonna do it for the differentials and stuff there. Let's move on over to what my team. So this is what my team would look like going into this week. This is how I would play it. So we'd obviously have Dean Henderson in goal. We'd have Willy Bolly, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and Lundstrom down the back. We'd play 5 across midfield in Barnes, Mane, Salah, Sarr with De Bruyne captained. And then we'd have Ings and Jimenez up front. We obviously favor Henderson over McCarthy because he has 2 games. We obviously favor Barnes over Calvert-Lewin because we think that Barnes is probably going to do more against Watford than Calvert-Lewin will do against Liverpool. We also think that Soyuncu obviously isn't as good for Yeah, no worries, Acidic. I usually post it on Twitter as well, PilotFlame226 as well. You can see it down in the description, so you follow us over on there. We do these once a week when the Premier League's out as well. When it's back up and running, and I post this every week. And then what we'll do next week when we go to check things out, we'll see how I did, and basically I like assign points to. If I got a correct score right, I get 3 points. If I get a result right, I get 1 point. If I don't get it right at all, I get 0 points. And we kind of see how I do from week to week. Usually I get at least 1 or 2 right. You know, not the greatest, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see. But yeah, I'll just put it up one last time for those that can see everything. Just making sure that you can see it all. Bring it down a little bit. Yeah, that's it. That's it all right there for the scores. So, moving swiftly onwards. Yeah, so basically we have a couple of things in our team that we're kind of looking at. We have a couple of teams that we're looking at. We don't really want to keep the Watford players. Everton's fixtures are starting to fall apart, in my opinion. You know, Southampton has this good game week here. Then they have some fairly tough fixtures in a row, and then they only get a couple good fixtures towards the end of the season. So it might not be worth keeping, you know, the likes of Danny Ings or McCarthy or people, you know, players like that for the game weeks coming forward. Obviously, Leicester's fixtures aren't great either. So we're kind of looking at a bit of a situation here where, you know, I have all the chips available. I have my wild card, I have my free hit, I have my bench boost, and my triple captain. The problem is that I don't think the free hits off, you know, is good here because Liverpool players are just going to be shipped out once they win the league, most likely. And then obviously there's a couple other players that probably won't be much, you know, very good after this week either. Like some of the Sheffield United players, they have a real sticky patch up until basically game week, the last 2 games of the season where they're okay. You know, so we kind of look at a few things. But this is how I would play it if I wasn't changing my team. Obviously, I will be. So let's see what the thinking that we have behind it. So this is what our team's kind of looking like right now. We got 0.5 in the bank, and these are the values that we have on our team. So if we're looking at like just value overall, we have McCarthy. Obviously, we gained 0.1 on him. We've gained quite a lot on Henderson, a little bit on Soyuncu, a lot on Trent, a lot on Lundstrom, none on Messina, just a bit on Bali, a bit on Barnes, a decent bit on Salah, a lot on Mane, a lot on De Bruyne, a little bit on Sarr, a lot on Calvert-Lewin, none on Ings, and a decent bit on Jimenez. So unfortunately, the players that are getting taken out of the team are players that have, or some of the players, have a lot of value in them. Unfortunately. You know. It's, the Liverpool players have a lot of value. So, we have to kind of take it with a, you know, go slowly with how we make these transfers, because if we do everything all in a rush right now, then we lose all our value. So we kind of got to think about this carefully. So, who are the players that are up on the chopping block? So, McCarthy, I think, is definitely not somebody that we should basically hang on to, because if we want to bench boost at all, we should get rid of him. Messina, obviously a Watford player, you know, not great, not going to help us out. Potentially not a very good bench boost option because he is against Leicester. That saying goes for Sarr as well, because obviously Leicester are quite a good team. So we'll have to kind of, you know, consider that as well. Obviously, I think that you know, Soyuncu is obviously not great long term. We do have a lot of value tied up in him, but I think after the Brighton and home fixture, obviously he's just not worth keeping. Ings, if we want to bring in Aguero and we want to bring in Aubameyang, which we do, unfortunately, Ings and Calvert-Lewin would be the two that have to be taken out the team, basically. And which is a shame because we have a lot of money tied up in Calvert-Lewin. Henderson's staying, obviously, because he's a double game week player. We're going to play him. Lundstrom, double game week player. We got a lot of value. He's cheaper than all the defenders that we could get for Sheffield United because we've had him since day one and he's been doing well in their preseason games. Barnes, we can get rid of as well. He's done what he's needed to do for our team. So that's perfectly fine by us. Then we have to get rid of at least Salah or Mane. So if we're going to get rid of one, we'll get rid of Salah because we have less value tied up in Salah. Salah is, we only lose 0.2, whereas Mane we'd lose 0.5. And that's if we want to keep one. And then if we're going to bring in Aubameyang, we have to get rid of either Calvert-Lewin or Jimenez. Unfortunately, we'd have to get rid of Calvert-Lewin because Jimenez has a really good fixture, and Wolves' fixtures for the rest of the season are fantastic. So we're gonna have to kind of look at that. Lastly, it's a matter of do we keep Trent as well. So ideally, we want to keep a Liverpool asset, especially for this week, just one. But they may be too expensive to keep. That's kind of the issue that we're working with here. So who are the players that we want to bring in? Well, we obviously want to bring in Aguero. So we'll put him straight in the team. We'll put him straight in the team. We want to bring in Aubameyang as well. So put him in the team. If we're bench boosting, we would want to bring in Leno. So let's go with the bench boost team first. So our other defender would say, let's say we do Egan from Sheffield United, and then lastly, we'll go Target from Aston Villa, just because I think he's going to play both games, and we could get lucky with something there. We'll go with Grealish. And then we kind of run into a problem where we have 8.7 million to split across two players, and we don't have enough to basically put in a full field of double game week players, unfortunately. Because in an ideal scenario, we would want, basically, if we were bench boosting, on our bench to be Jimenez, or the two midfielders, and Willy Bolly, basically. And then obviously Leno. And have the rest of the team with double game week players. Because your bench boost is the points you would have got from your bench on your 3 single game week players that are going to be on your bench if you have maxed out in the field. So your starting 11 is all double game week players. And then the only double game week player you get additionally off your bench will be your other goalkeeper, because that's the most amount that you can have. You can have 12 double game week players this week. 3 from Aston Villa, 3 from Sheffield United, 3 from City, 3 from Arsenal. And one of those has to be a goalkeeper because you can only field 10 outfield players. Which means normally that you would bench the 3 single game week players that will play in the outfield as well. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. Now, one thing we can also look at is obviously the City mids. So we can put in the likes of, if we wanted to go for someone like Sterling, who may have a fresh start. But again, obviously we're running into this problem where we have too much money basically being spent, in our team. Just too much money. We have to basically get rid of Mane and then split that money elsewhere, or get rid of both Mane and Trent and split it elsewhere as well. But even then, we're not getting the most use out of our bench boost unless we think the single game week players we're going to have on the bench are going to be good. So unfortunately, that's the dilemma that we are dealing with. And that's going to be all the time we have for today. We will continue this discussion tomorrow. Be sure to give us a follow over here on Twitch and on Twitter to make sure you check us out on those platforms, and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Pilot Flame 226 everywhere. I think on YouTube our channel name is Pilot Flame, but if you type in Pilot Flame Fantasy Premier League or something like that, it will definitely come up. The links are also down below, or wherever Twitch has put them nowadays. So we'll have to kind of wait and see, and we'll see exactly what I do tomorrow. I have the stream. It will be going up at 1 p.m. EST, so that is tomorrow afternoon. Acidic, thank you for the follow. Hopefully my predictions go well for you if you decide to choose any. That is much appreciated. And we will see how things go. But yeah, tomorrow we will be looking at what I actually do with my team, and we'll finalize it on stream, and what chip I'll be using as well, because I'm still not solely convinced on the bench boost, but who knows, maybe the next several hours may change my mind. So with that, I'll leave you all to it. Like I said, make sure to give us a follow and subscribe on all of the platforms. Like I said, links are in the description. Pilot Flame 226 everywhere. And until tomorrow's stream, hope you all have a good one and take care. See ya.